He did a business deal with Russia, a deal where he gets paid. TikTok. I thought in the beginning when he first came in, I'm like, I don't know. There's no way he's getting reelected. I said that from day one. I said Elizabeth Warren or anyone else would landslide him in 2020. That is an issue of policy, demographics. His incompetence, etc. That's a separate issue. But I said on day one, I didn't know if he was going to go the whole 4 years. I assumed he would. And then as I saw one mistake after another in the Russia story developing a little bit, I thought, oh my God, I think he's only going to last a year and a half. Now I'm moving the clock even further. He might not last 6 months because he did a deal with the Russians. Okay, this is not a joke. Okay.
Okay.
Axios is reporting that Donald Trump has suggested nuking a hurricane. Again, swear to God, it's not a joke. He's apparently suggested bombing hurricanes on several occasions.
Bullshit.
And this is not even that recent. And so people talk about he lost his mind. He never had a mind in the first place. And by the way, this is among many different insane things he just did in the last 24 hours on top. Apparently he suggested bombing a hurricane first.
Bullshit.
And his advisors apparently just all fell silent. And then one of them said, we'll look into it, sir. We'll look into it.
The president tweeting the story by Axios that President Trump wanted to blow up large hurricanes with nuclear weapons prior to reaching shore is ridiculous. I never said this, just more fake news.
So look, for the Trump fans, which Trump do you believe? I'm curious what's in your head. Leave a comment below.
I think, honestly, at this point, I genuinely think that people who support him are amused and entertained by him. And it ends there. Yes.
Yeah.
Whether wittingly or unwittingly, he's trolling us and his supporters are amused by it. That's my theory on all this.
Yeah, that's why sometimes I call him Donald J. Troll. And look, that's why the right wing has this thing of like, you guys got triggered by him, right? But it's like such a weird thing. I never understood it. Like somebody does something stupid and you go, what, that's stupid. And they're like, oh, you're triggered. But when he suggested firing a nuclear weapon at the hurricane, again, no joke. One advisor that now has, leaked to Axios said, the room felt so quiet that you could hear a gnat fart. Okay, what do you do with that? What do you do with that when the president is a lunatic? Okay, so he also said that Google manipulated 16 million votes in the election.
Bullshit.
You think Google can change 16 million votes? How would Google change votes at the voting booth? And that
You think Google can change 16 million votes? How would Google change votes at the voting booth?
Number one, in 2016, Google's search algorithm likely impacted undecided voters in a way that shifted at least 2.6 million votes to Hillary Clinton, whom I supported. I know this because I preserved more than 13,000 election-related searches prior to Election Day, and Google's search results were significantly biased in favor of Secretary Clinton. I know the number of votes that shifted because I've conducted dozens of controlled experiments that measure how opinions shift when search results are biased. I call this shift SEAM, the Search Engine Manipulation Effect, which I first published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in 2015. Biased search results can easily produce shifts in the opinions and voting preferences of undecided voters by up to 80% in some demographic groups because people blindly trust high-ranking search results over lower ones.
That Google's manipulation of votes gave at least 2.6 million additional votes to Hillary Clinton in the year 2016. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I want to make sure I understand. You personally supported and voted for Hillary Clinton.
I was a very strong public supporter of Hillary Clinton, yes.
So
How would Google change your votes at the voting booth? And you didn't investigate that? You thought, like, remember, actually, he did investigate election fraud and he brought in Chris Kobach, who's the top election fraud idiot on the Republican side. And even he looked at it. You remember, originally Trump said there was 3 million people, undocumented immigrants, who voted illegally for Hillary Clinton. Otherwise, he would have won the popular vote too. Kobach, the worst of the worst, his henchman comes in. He's like, couldn't find a single illegal vote. Couldn't find one, let alone 1 million, let alone 3 million.
Bullshit.
Sir, good to have you. Give me the proof.
Check, and it's a 30-state consortium where we try to keep our voter rolls clean by comparing to see if people are registered in more than one state, and about 3 million people are registered in more than one state. But get this, Neil, most of those people, it's no crime to be registered in more than one state, but it is a crime if you actually try to vote in 2 states, and every year thousands of people do vote in more than one state.
But not 3 million, not millions.
And well, no, probably not 3 million, but if you can get to larger numbers if you start talking about non-citizen voting.
But do you really think that that's the case, though, that it actually goes into the millions? When I think widespread, sir, I think, all right, now we're talking into the millions. That could materially affect the results.
So if you're looking at the problem of non-citizens voting, we have a lot of evidence there too. In Kansas, because we're litigating over our proof of citizenship requirement, we have an expert who's analyzed our voter rolls and thinks as many as 18,000 non-citizens could be on the rolls and many of them voting. But there's another study.
Let's just take those 18,000. Let's just take those 18,000 are non-citizens are voting. You said many of them voting. How many of those 18,000 do you suspect?
Yeah. Well, I suspect that the participation rate among non-citizens is probably well below the normal participation rate. So it's probably, in the range of 10 to 20%, I think. But here's the point I was going to get to. There was a study done of the 2008 presidential election, and it found that 11.3% of aliens living in the United States said that they voted in that election, not just registered, but voted. And if you compare that 11.3% to the number of aliens in the country today, which is about 29 million, if you count legal and illegal together.
But did they verify those numbers in the past? I mean, it's one thing for people to say that. So, it's another thing to quantify that and say, that is the case.
No, that is a projection, but if you took that projection and applied it to the numbers today, you'd be talking about in excess of 3 million aliens voting. But to actually nail it down at a state-by-state level, that's the job of the Secretary of State.
Now Trump turns around knowing that. They disbanded that committee because they couldn't find any evidence. Even Kobach's like, nothing, we made it up, totally made it up, couldn't find anything, okay?
Donald Trump doesn't like that, of course, saying numerous states are refusing to give information to the very distinguished voter fraud panel. What are they trying to hide?
Even Kobach's like, nothing, we made it up, totally made it up, couldn't. And so when he says, I'd like to have all the voter data and be able to connect it to their Social Security and all other things that I want, yes, people are wary. And Mike Pence, of course, now anytime anybody disagrees with them, they're fake news, right?
Yeah.
The states that refuse to comply at all with this include Tennessee and Mississippi, let alone South Dakota and others.
The governor of Mississippi told them to jump into the Gulf of Mexico.
Kobach went and talked about it like, well, there was 31 cases in American history of electoral fraud. Out of like 6 billion votes that we've had since then or something. So obviously none of that happened. And on top of that, he now says, oh yeah, well, we looked into it and we found nothing, but it could have been that Google changed 16 million votes. 25th Amendment, 25th Amendment, 25th Amendment. No, Trump didn't ever really care that much about being president other than winning. I'm going to be winning, right? The number one thing and almost only thing he cares about is money. Money. He did a business deal with the Russians. you give me money, you give me a portion of the oil contracts, then I lift the sanctions for you guys. So when I lift the sanctions, I Donald J. Trump, make money. That's the deal he did. Now, the reason why people don't believe that, first of all, it's fair to say at this point there's not enough evidence on that. No question, no question. They need to do the investigations. You can't just go on my hunch.
Yeah. But for the purposes of alleged Russian collusion, this investigation found no such thing.
No, they did not find evidence of collusion or even coordination with the Russians and the Trump campaign in interfering with the election. So, okay, that part is very clear. Money. He did a business deal with the Russians. So if they're looking into his businesses, ding, 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 we got a winner. So, okay, the Trump boys, Don Jr. and Eric, say that you get a lot of money from the Russians for your businesses. Eric bragged about how you got all the money you could possibly need from the Russians for all your golf courses.
Eric Trump denies he ever said that.
In response to Dodson's comments, Eric Trump told the New York Post, quote, "We own our courses free and clear," insisting Dobson's story was categorically untrue and complete garbage. He added, "We have zero ties to Russian investors." We reached out to him for comment, but no response.
Okay, and Eric Trump is so stupid that about the golf courses, he said, oh yeah, the Russians give us all the money we need because they really, really love golf.
We have no assets in Russia. We have no debt in Russia. I haven't been to Russia in, 6-7 years off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm sure that's why they give you all the money.
So them coming in front of Congress, can't wait.
We have no hotels. We have no golf assets. We have no residential buildings. We don't have properties in Russia. So there are loans. If you want to know if we have assets in Russia, go look to see if our name's on a building. Go look to see if we own any property there. We're a real estate company. We're a bricks and mortar company. Go see if we have anything in Russia. The reality is we don't.
Everybody thinks that Trump has hotels and towers and golf courses, that's his real business. No, his real business is running a laundromat. Okay, he's been running that laundromat for the Russians for quite some time. They did not find evidence of collusion or even coordination with the Russians and the Trump campaign. So, okay, that part is very clear. You're underestimating how stupid he is. No, I'm not kidding. No, he's not smart. His daddy left him $200 million and he's bungled it ever since. That's why he needs to make deals like this, because he doesn't have that much money. Okay, I don't care if you believe me on that, okay? What I'm telling you right now, ahead of time, is his stupidity is record-breaking. I know, I studied all of his business deals because of this damn campaign. I know how incompetent he is. I know what a loser he is. And so he is stupid enough to think, I do a business deal with Russia where I get billions of dollars and nobody will find out. Hey, listen, man, I didn't release my taxes and I didn't get caught. Well, first of all, when you have to remind people that the president is not a neo-Nazi sympathizer, you're already in a world of trouble.
But who knows? Maybe he was concerned that Mueller would release the report during the lame duck session, which
might happen. So look, Mueller releasing it during the lame duck session makes a lot of sense. We knew he wouldn't release it before the election once it got too close, within 2 months or so. And knowing Mueller, he wants it to appear as little political as possible. So so he likely does not want to wait till the Democrats are in charge of the House. He's going to want to release it when the Republicans are in charge of the House to say, hey, look, it isn't political, man. Republicans are in charge of the House and the Senate. I'm just telling you what I know. This is what my investigation said. All right, Anna, I have a thought on this too. Na, 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 na. This guy is so fucking done. So you're telling me that you're going to tell the American people, those guys who showed up with Klan torches, to support a Confederate statue. If it was just a Confederate statue, yes, that's your portion of Trump's base who's like, yeah, Confederacy is awesome. And then you say there are good people on that side?
So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But
oh yeah, I mean, you got the Klan and the Nazis, and you got the good guys like the white nationalists.
They should be condemned totally.
But look, it's a career ender for anyone other than Donald Trump. I get it, he's already president, what can you do, right? We're looking to end his career in 2020.
And we're incredibly likely to do that because 49% of Americans are repulsed by him and say they would definitely vote against him. Definitely. That's 49% of Americans. This race is already over. Anyway.
So now, as I was one of the first to say that his reign would begin, I'm now ready to be among the first to say that his reign will end. Definitely. He's done. You could write it down in stone. He will not finish his first term. There's no way in the world he finishes 4 years. He's not capable of it. The country's sick of it. The people in power are sick of it. And yes, that is important. And I'm going to tell you exactly why he's going to be leaving. Now, as to how quickly that'll happen, so that is a much harder guess. Like I said, definitely not the whole 4 years. It could be as quickly as a week. It could be as long as 18 months. I would be surprised. Wow, I would be very surprised if he made it all the way to 18 months.
I am